Oh, and let it keep going. As I do, I pre-record for the day prior to make it easier on that day. And this comes to us from Will the Ox Anderson, who asked the question. Is Will the Ox Anderson? Yep. Will the Ox Anderson asked the question, who will win in the fight? The Destroyer from the MCU, the Grunt, I guess we'll call it, from the first Thor movie? Because he's the enforcer. He's the big guy you go to fight. Loki technically isn't stronger than this thing. Versus the MCU, the Days of Future Past movie versions of the Sentinels. Now, I can obviously see why this match would be suggested. They are very similar looking, even have a similar ability where firing giant energy from their face. But who would win in an actual fight with these guys, between these two? So the Destroyer is an Asgardian-made machine of some kind. It's it's malleable. You see its design is like these strips. These strips are capable of moving and reconfiguring its body in many different ways. It fires a massive amount of like super concentrated heat that can pretty much vaporize frost giants in an instant. Although that could be because of them being frost giants and that being super hot energy. But even so, it can severely injure just about anyone who touches it, and most likely wipe that entire arsenal's human weaponry without any difficulty. Take on multiple Asgardians, not depowered Thor, multiple Asgardians in the Warrior 3 with really no difficulty whatsoever. And take out its capabilities with its energy blast. It's just physically powerful enough to take shots to nearly kill the human Thor, but also take shots from Mjolnir and just kind of like get shaken off. It isn't until Thor basically uses Mjolnir and concentrates all the energy into its head, where its head pretty much blows up. So this thing is damn powerful. But so are the Sentinels. Roughly speaking in size, the Sentinels are about the same size as the Destroyer. Now, they're humanoid in shape, but unlike the Destroyer, which has these like bands, the Sentinels are seen to be more like scale-like. They morph their ability to match an ability that would counter the mutant they're attacking. Just like this Destroyer, though, they're capable of, one of their prime abilities is launching like an energy beam from their head. More than the Destroyer, though, they're capable of creating, again, crystal-like effects on their body to absorb heat, overheat their bodies to stop cold effects, morph their bodies into blades. They are capable of adapting to just about anything, but they're not infallible. They can be damaged, they can be destroyed, and by lesser beings, too, than Asgardians. And so, in asking who would win in a fight, it depends. Are you talking about multiple of the Sentinels or one Sentinel? If we're doing one-on-one, the Destroyer's going to wreck a Sentinel. Easy. The Destroyer has been shown to be able to take hits from much stronger beings than what we see in Days of Future Past. There was no being even close to Thor in Days of Future Past with these future Sentinels. And so, one-on-one, even if the Destroyer, I keep saying Destroyer and the Sentinels, even if the Sentinel adapts to something, the heat, first off, the amount of heat the Destroyer puts out probably is more than a Sentinel is able to handle right out the gate. If they clash, the Destroyer has Asgardian technology behind it, so it's already probably stronger than what the Sentinel already has on call for its base abilities. And even so, Destroyer is probably more physically capable of manhandling the Sentinel than vice versa. So in a one-on-one, the Destroyer is going to win. What about in like a group fight versus one? Because if it's a group of Destroyers, then yeah, they're going to defeat the group of Sentinels. But the Destroyer versus 5. I think 5 is a reasonable number here. Because eventually you're going to get to a point you're going to hit a number of Sentinels where the Destroyer will lose. It's just going to get overwhelmed. But I think 5 is like the nice sweet marker of, okay, if he can beat 5, then it's a pretty much a foregone conclusion that the Destroyer overall wins. So how would he tackle 5 Sentinels? Roughly the same size, probably physically weaker, having a similar energy attack to the Destroyer. Well, I want to say about one or two Sentinels are just going to be axed off pretty quick. It's not going to be until the other Sentinels actually observe the power they're up against that they're going to be able to try to adapt to what they're seeing or what they're experiencing. The question is, though, can they adapt to the point where they're able to win? Are they able to like completely neg any of his attacks? I will say this. I don't think they can completely neg his attacks, but I think they can resist his attacks enough to actually get in close. which means now they're going to be moving on the offensive, try to skewer the destroyer, try to like just rip it apart. Ripping it apart, I don't think is going to work unless they're able to like get into like its lower arm and then just tear it off. I don't think that's going to work, and that will only work if you can maybe like skewer and then turn into a flat axe head and then take it off. And even then, that's not going to stop the destroyer. That just is a momentary discomfort for the destroyer. So they'll probably be able to get in, they'll probably be able to stab the destroyer, but the problem for them is the destroyer can shrug off being impaled. We see that multiple times. It's stabbed through the throat and then just fixes it. Puncture wounds are not going to do much. Slashing, it's not going to do much because it's more likely durable than they are. Its structure seems to be more inclined for taking hits than theirs is. They're more primed for adapting than actual like taking hits. Because when they take hits, they do take hits. They get damage. We see a Sentinel losing a limb. So they're not necessarily designed to take a lot of hits in their base form. I mean, they're durable robots, absolutely. But a strong enough mutant theoretically could like break them, tear their head off, or whatever. The destroyer, on the other hand, because it's designed to handle individuals well above normal humans, and even probably above normal mutants, you're dealing with an individual now who is designed for the physicality, who's designed to take hits, and who can dish it back out. So the Sentinels will get in, skewer the destroyer. The destroyer will kind of like go offline for a second, and then be like, yeah, psych. And then just grab one, probably rip it in half, maybe even just break its head. Point blank shot fire its heat beam in one of them, destroying that one. And then there's going to be like a beam struggle between it and the last one, where I think ultimately the destroyer will win. Now, again, I say this in the sense that enough Sentinels, theoretically, enough of anything will be enough of anything. But if we're looking at like a squad of 5, which again is a reasonable amount, I think it's more than what they sent in the beginning of Days of Future Past the movie, because I think I remember like seeing 3 or 4. So I think there was more Sentinels than that. I think that's more Sentinels than what we saw. So if a squadron of like 5 is not enough to defeat the destroyer, then I will comfortably say that the destroyer wins in most circumstances. Again, get enough of them, have them all simultaneously blast their heat beams or whatever at them. I'm sure that would do it. But in terms of a squad of 5 or a one-on-one match, I'm going to go with the destroyer. This, however, is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you have the destroyer or do you have the Sentinels from Days of Future Past? Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.